Bow, you shits!
The real war isn't between a few squabbling houses. It's between the living and the dead.
Winter is coming.
Why are all the gods such vicious cunts?
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder. I'm the shield that guards the realms of men.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
I drink and I know things.
You're the worst shit in the Seven Kingdoms!
Death is the enemy, the first enemy and the last.
Dracarys.
I am the god of jits and wine.
Welcome back. My name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things. First of its name.
Long may it rain.
Mm-hmm.
Long may it rain. We're going to be covering episode 3 of House of the Dragon, season 1, titled The Second of His Name. Of course, in reference to little Aegon, I'm guessing.
Oh, little scamp. He's grown up so big.
Yeah.
In a week's time, he's grown 2 years.
He's eating porridge with his hands.
You know, those little ones, they grow up so fast, you know?
He's probably ready to marry.
You know what? He's not far off.
As soon as he stops eating that porridge with his hands, he can find a good betrothal.
Right.
Perhaps his sister, if he's lucky.
Hey, you know, if we could all be so lucky.
Well, if you have never listened to the show before, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. A lot of our listeners have a really good time with the show, and we have a whole community that we've tried really hard to build. And the listeners have done most of the building, I would say. The kindest, coolest listeners on the planet. So you'll fit right in. We've in the past covered lots and lots of Stranger Things and lots of other things that don't really match up so well, like 80s, 90s, aughts movies and
Altered Carbon.
Yeah, a couple of different TV shows, things like that.
I forgot about the days of Altered Carbon and
in betwixt our tent poles.
The 2 episodes of Westworld.
Yeah, that didn't go so well. But we've been, stalwart, I would say, to fit the vernacular of this type of show for the last...
Good word, dude.
Year and a half, yeah. Mm-hmm. Every week, 2 to 3 episodes. So, So welcome. We also have a YouTube channel. You guys could check that out. But anyway, we're going to be covering House of the Dragon and the Rings of Power almost exclusively for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And then after that, we'll see where the winds take us. The listeners give us a lot of feedback on where to go next. So,
and they are our captains and we merely follow their orders.
Mm-hmm. We stand on our desks where we record and just scream, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," every time we check a Patreon message.
Carpe diem.
It's a weird thing that we do. Yes, indeed. Carpe diem. Carpe diem, baby. We're going to talk about the way that this works. If you're newer, we're going to do overall thoughts on the episode, just kind of our initial reaction to it. We just finished watching it, and then we'll do a scene by scene breakdown and recap. At the end, we have a segment called Dragon Eggs, where we kind of talk about little lore things, maybe some tidbits that are supposed to reference Game of Thrones or something that might reference the books. That's what that segment's for. Valyrian Steel is the next segment where we talk about our top 3 favorite moments of the episode, and we'll go around the room and do that. And we also have a segment called The Mummer's Dragon, where we talk about our favorite performance of the episode. And that'll cap off episode 3, the second of his name.
I think we're going to introduce a brand new segment this week as well, Chris.
That's true. We're going to talk about some corrections of mistakes that we've made in episodes past.
Corrections and omissions. This segment is called A Song of Errors and Corrections.
Indeed.
Like it.
And we're going to sing them. Do you have these errors that we've supposedly made handy, Stephen?
I have a couple of them, yes, that I've kept track of. Did you guys bring any to the table?
I don't think I made any errors.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of these is directly you.
Personally.
I don't think there's any record of that. So.
Oh, there is.
No, I don't fuck up.
Okay, well then I'll just say the 2 that we have. So last episode they debuted the brand new intro to the show.
Okay, yeah,
where you get to see the blood going down the model, the Viserys model, and we at the time, because what we do is we watch the show, right? We go on HBO, we watch,
as many do,
the episode, and we immediately sit here in our chairs in front of these mics and we give you our thoughts. So oftentimes we don't have full ideas of what things are. Some things might be nebulous because we haven't thought long enough about them.
Yeah. Plus our brain's dumb.
Our brains is
brain
dumb.
We're good.
So last week when the show intro came out, we're like, wow, that's really cool. That's really pretty looking. There's definitely some meaning behind it, but we don't know. We can't tell quite yet.
What's up with that red wax?
That red wax.
Yeah, that's what my brain did.
What's all that grape juice flowing down the side? But no, it's actually a pretty smart visual. It visualizes the bloodline of the Targaryen. So it starts off with Aegon and his sisters, Aegon the First, and you see the blood kind of going down. It filters down to all the different heirs of the bloodline. So that's what the gears are.
It goes to Aenys next, I think, and skips Maegor, I think, completely, which is funny.
Yeah. And then you can see King Jaehaerys and his wife. What's Jaehaerys' wife name?
Well, was
Alysanne.
Maegor, wasn't that his brother?
It was. So I think that's what it's not like descendants.
Okay.
But he was the king next.
Mm-hmm. And then when it gets to them, you can see it splits off into 9 different streams.
Like almost I think he had 13 children. So.
But like all those different streams.
Yeah, many streams.
But
crossing streams.
You notice that the stream that is like thickest is always where the strongest blood line is going for. That's the line of succession. And then in the background, in the very far background, you can see the bloodline of the Valyrians and the Hightowers just kind of creeping into the fold because
in the mix.
Yeah. And
it's
so
like a My 23andMe. There's like 2% Hightower.
Right. And it makes sense why they wouldn't show this in the first episode, because it is a little spoilery for the first episode in a way.
Yeah, sure.
Which is kind of cool.
And they also the insignia of each character, I think, will fill with blood when they're dead.
Yes.
In that opening. So that'll probably progress.
And it's neat to see like the different insignias that they chose for the different characters. Like my favorite one is Rhaenys, the first Rhaenys. So Aegon the Conqueror's sister.
Yes.
Her insignia is a dragon with a spear in its eye, which is how she died. Was she was flying her dragon, it got the spear in its eye, and then it crashed with both of them, and she supposedly died in the fall.
I bet she did.
And then Rhaenyra's insignia is the necklace that Daemon gives her in the first episode, which is really cool.
Cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool little Easter eggs, or dragon eggs, I should say. Sorry, this is this show.
I almost fired you.
I know. Sorry, I saw your.
Would have been weird because it's your house.
Please don't beat me, sir.
You're fired. Stay here. We're leaving.
Yeah. Finish recording. But yeah, so that's the first thing. We finally know what the intro is about. And the second thing is actually an email that was written to us by one of our beloved listeners. This is from Tony House of Dairy. He writes, "Hey fellas, I thought I sent an email instead of a Patreon message. Another great episode." He tells us how great we are, but I want to get to his correction where he says the triarchy, the stepstones, is Tyrosh, Myr, and Lys. They are all closest to the stones. Volantis is slightly inland. He also goes on to say, because we were talking about House McAllister and who they were kind of pledged fealty to. He says House McAllister is from the Riverlands. Seaguard is right by the Ironlands. Otto mentions they protect against the Reavers from the he says double east. I don't know what that means. House Manderley is on the East Coast. White Harbor, which is loyal to House Stark, because we were saying the McAllisters were probably associated with the Manderleys.
Yeah, but they're from the Riverlands.
Yes, which is correct.
That was my bad.
Yeah, I remember in that episode, Chris, I was like, I think Lys is in the Triarchy. And you're like, no, you fucking idiot.
I don't think I said that.
I mean, I got 1 out of 3 right, but I'm just saying I had 1.
Hey man.
All right.
I don't think I was
Nobody can take it away
caustic
from
about it.
No, you were caustic about it.
And I don't appreciate that. Let's not do that, Steve. We're better than that.
Let's not fight.
Let's not do that.
Can we kiss?
You know what, you guys?
I'm distracted right
need
now
you both
because
to
I
just chill out
have
and hug.
forgotten that we're on YouTube as well. And I picked my nose like 3 times.
Oh, you've been crushing it, my dude. It's all good.
It's not even a real nose picking. It's like a sore or something that I have, and I keep trying to like make the feeling go away, but I do that by sticking my finger in my nose. and then at one point, Steve was explaining this correction, and I would like looked over at like, oh yeah,
feel your face go red, like oh fuck,
oh well.
Oh no! So those are all the corrections I have for this week. And
Very
this
good.
concludes the song of correction and errors.
Just stay tuned, listeners. We're going to make a bunch more mistakes, this time on purpose, so that we can fill this segment for next episode. So keep your ears perked.
Yeah, and if there's something that we miss or omit that you want to add to our corrections, to send them in, and maybe we'll read them.
Indeed. We're also gearing up. I don't know if we'll have time this week. I think we should for a mailbag episode, and that'll be largely House of the Dragon, probably with some Rings of the Power stuff. And
Rings of the Power?
Yeah, man. We're tired. It's midnight-ish here, so thereabouts. And I have a newborn. Steve's got a podcast. Andy's got stuff.
Busier than shit.
That's why we're all tired.
Those things are equal.
I mean, apparently.
I'm very tired.
I'm probably the least tired here, I think. But let's dive right into the second of his name. Steve, what were your overall thoughts on this third episode? How are you feeling about things?
I thought this episode was a really good example of having a more quiet and story driven, kind of trying to get the story from one place to the next. Because, you know, Game of Thrones always has those episodes. There's like more interesting things happen. And then there's the episodes in between where it's just like, okay, we're just setting up for the next big thing. I thought this episode was a really good example of how to make those type of episodes, the A to B episodes, really, really captivating and interesting. Because there's a lot of really great character moments in this. And then it ends with a real big battle. It begins and ends with a really cool action scene.
Like an action sandwich.
It was like an action sandwich. Yeah. It was a nice action pulled pork sandwich because, you know, the middle is the pork that Rhaenyra caught. So it was just a really great example of that. I really enjoyed this episode. This show continues to hit every button for me. Like there hasn't been really anything the show has done where I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. It's been like, yes. And every episode just makes me more and more and more excited to see what happens next. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts.
Awesome. Andy, how did you feel about episode 3?
I loved it also. I will say with the time jump, I spent a significant bit of the start of the episode kind of looking for the changes in people. Like they make it clear pretty quickly that at least 2 years have passed, if not closer to 3, I think.
Look at this baby.
Yeah, there's a baby. That baby's 2.
That baby's 2 now.
He's 2. Do we mention he's 2? Like the way that they kind of lean into that. Congratulations on your 2nd name day.
Mm-hmm. And then they look right at the camera.
Yeah. So I was looking for little changes in costume and character design and stuff, and they're there, and it's awesome. So they kind of, and they talked about it in the after episode, kind of going into it, deep dive of it, and they said that they kind of have to rely on the viewers to pay attention and, be along for the ride. And there's been a time jump and stick with us. We're going somewhere and it's going to make sense. And I think that they do a phenomenal job of like subtle touches, like Viserys, like his hair is slightly different, it was already platinum blonde, but it's thinning and lighter slightly. And he had that finger that was all fucked up in the last episode and now 2 fingers are gone and things like that. Like little things that I think, it does a really good job of showing how much time has passed while also still maintaining the story and making you or keeping you apprised of who everyone is and where they are and where they're going. I thought this episode was fantastic. It was quieter for sure, but the beginning and end, as Steve said, the pork sandwich was fucking badass. So I love Game of Thrones when it's conniving in gardens, as we talked before.
Yeah, conniving gardens.
But and we got a lot of that, only it was mostly conniving at dinner tables, but I'm good with that. I was still enjoying it because
it's the conniving that's more important, not the gardens.
Well, the gardens are pretty important, but still, I enjoyed myself. What about you?
I'm torn. I obviously I love this world. I've said that, I think, to the point where it needs to be said no more, but this is my favorite world.
Say it one more time for me, Daddy.
This is my favorite world.
I love it.
I love these houses. I was 10, way too young to be reading this, but 10 or 11. And so this was like after The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, after Terry Goodkind's series. I read 7 or 8 of those. I read Terry Brooks' The Shannara Chronicles. And then about that age is when I picked up a Game of Thrones from the library. And this was my idea. This is like the standard by which all fantasy stories have been set for me, like this level of depth and detail, but like this level of gray, because most fantasy novels are like a giant evil force that is
light versus dark.
Yeah. It's Sith versus Jedi, is at most of fantasy. And I really, really was taken aback as a young lad, a laddie, if you will, the kid from Lost Boys.
Laddie.
With like, wow, that's really interesting that I kind of like Jaime Lannister at this point in the story. That's a little weird. Should I tell my dad?
Should I tell my dad?
Those kind of, but
get out, son.
And I love House of the Dragon for that same reason. I adore this story, but I think this might've been my least favorite episode so far. But while at the same time, I think it's the way Andy described episode 2 of The Rings of Power. I think like some of the highest highs, yes. But I think overall my least favorite episode, which is interesting. And I'll get into a couple of things that kind of had me cock on my head a little bit. But yeah, not knocking them for jumping time. I mean, they're going to have to do that because the story
takes over the course of decades.
Yeah. And it's probably only 100 pages in the book that has to do that. And so obviously they're going to have to add a lot, but they're going to have to move very quickly in this story. So gotta jump some times. So let's dive right in. We get that opening that we talked about, and it opens with the burning of the stepstones, some giant flame. It looks like a Targaryen standard on fire, or a Targaryen ship.
No, it was a seahorse. It was a Valyrian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just Daemon, I think, is the only Targaryen, and even none of his retainers or anything. And then the entire house Valyrian. And I say Valyrian, even though that's a mispronunciation, just for my own brain to not think I'm saying Valyrian, the city. So just don't write in for the correction segment about that. I'm doing that on purpose for my own fucking sanity. So yeah, the burning of the stepstones, and we see the crab feeder. He's kind of his own way of like lazy crucifying, right? Like he lays them down on the beach, but he does nail them to a thing. So it's like a lazy crucifixion. That's the way I describe it.
They can't get away. And
they call him the crab feeder because he feeds them to crabs. And that's what he's doing to this poor sot. And he's like, fuck you, fuck your family. Owie. You know, that's his whole thing. But he's like putting up a resistance.
Yeah, he was like, fuck you, no, don't, please.
Yeah, which is how I would be, for sure. That was accurate.
You'd be defiant right up to the moment he puts the nail next to your hand. Like, please, sir, I misspoke, please.
I didn't mean that thing I was just saying just now.
Do your worst. Ow!
Oh, I didn't mean that bad.
Less worse.
But yeah, I mean, I like the visual that he just kind of keeps crabs on him, and just because he nails the guy to the post. And
he always keeps them a fucking thing on him.
He's like, here's my little friends. They're going to eat you. And he's like, no, get away, crab. Ow.
I don't think we've talked at all about the fact that the crab feeder has obvious grayscale as well. At least
real bad psoriasis
on this show. Yeah, he needs some Aquaphor stat.
Yes.
Which is incurable, right? Except for unless you're Samwell Tarly.
Yeah, it's incurable. It slowly overtakes your entire body and makes you go insane at some point.
Until you freeze into stone. Well, you don't freeze, but I mean, eventually you do. But at first you go insane and become like a rah kind of person. So it lends to his character in the sense that he knows he's got a ticking clock. He's much more likely to be unreasonable, right? I don't know why he's the leader though. Like you literally can't. He's so infectious. You can't hang out with him.
Yeah, there's definitely a really cool story behind that character because they call him Prince Drahar.
Is that the first time we got that name?
I think so. That's the first time I've heard it, at least, or I remember hearing it.
They said his name in the first episode early on. He calls himself the crab feeder, but before they said that, they actually said his name.
So he must already be
started with a C, the first name.
Royalty and Liss, or Mir, or the third city. Tyrosh, that's right. I always want to go Pentos or Valentis, and it's neither of those, as the listener has written in.
Yeah, it is interesting that he would be the leader. I kind of really want to know the backstory of this guy because it has to be very fascinating.
Yeah, he didn't say a word.
He's a pirate prince with grayscale, then people love him.
And he stole a Son of the Harpy mask at some point. So he had to have gone to like
definitely a Harpy mask?
or that inspired the Sons of the Harpy mask later on. I don't know.
No, I think that's an ancient thing.
Okay.
The Sons of the Harpy is an ancient thing because the Harpy is the symbol of that city. Marine.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
But he's a corsair. He's a pirate. So it's very easily, to me, understandable that maybe he's traveled around and fucked somebody up that had that mask and was like, hide my grayscale.
Ain't nobody gonna know.
Yeah, they're never gonna know. And then anyway, there's burning, there's crabbing, all this stuff is going on, and then we see Caraxes fly in and start melting shit. And that guy who's being like lazy crucified is so fucking happy.
He's like, "Yeah, my lord, Prince Daemon, he's gonna fuck you up."
And honestly,
Prince Daemon and Noodle Neck,
my big red noodly boy's back.
My rotten soldier,
my sweet cheese,
my good time boy.
That's Caraxes. I fucking love Caraxes. He must be protected at all costs. He's my big red long noodly boy.
And I got chills. Like the guy was so happy, and I was happy that Daemon was there. I'm a big fan of Prince Daemon myself. And
here, my prince, I'm here.
And then he gets smushed.
Here, my prince, save me. Super squished.
Yeah.
Graphically squished. And I thought that was a neat moment, probably a little oversold to have the weight emotionally as I think it was intended. But it still kind of worked in the sense of like, I think it's symbolism of the fact that Prince Daemon, or maybe even the Targaryens as a whole, are not saviors, right? Like they're going to attempt that for their own gain, but it's the small folk that are going to get squished every time.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because the Targaryens are the focal point, the heroes of this story for all intents and purposes. But, you know, Viserys, even with his model making, is like holding the Valyrians up to high esteem. But the Valyrians as an empire was like fucking awful. Like they were like really bad slaveholders and they slaughtered a bunch of people. They're real, like if modern day people look back on that empire, be like, man, they kind of sucked. But, you know, Viserys is kind of holding his heritage up as like, we were so cool back then.
Oh, unfortunately, with my experience in the internet as the last few months, if the Valyrians were real, it would be a heated debate.
Well,
They would have many, many supporters.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You fucking cucks that don't like the Valyrians. They were real, true alpha males.
You betas. Yeah. But yeah, I love that Daemon swings down and he changes the tide of this battle by like just using Caraxes to burn everything. But then the crab feeders forces, they all hide into the caves where Caraxes can't fit. He can't fit his big long newly born neck in.
No, and his little flames won't go in there.
Yeah.
It's like, eh.
But we did see how cool is it that he's burning motherfuckers, but one dude like basically just explodes and his leg just kind of is the only thing that remained.
Nuts.
That's insane.
That's how hot the dragon
so
fire is.
hot. All there was a foot. That was crazy. That was really cool.
Yeah.
But then Daemon forgot arrows. Shit.
Which was cool also because you think like I have dragons, I am superior, I am going to fucking smoke y'all. And yeah, he's still a dude. He's still vulnerable and he gets hit.
I don't know why I was walking around arrogantly though with high ground above him and stuff though. You know, You got a dragon. You should definitely be flying, my guy.
I mean, that's Daemon though, you know?
I did like that it was cool because Caraxes, not all the dragons, he's an older, bigger dragon, right? But not all the dragons have fought battles. And you'll find that out eventually. And so there's a different level of skill to the dragons themselves. Caraxes is battle hardened. And so what I thought it was a really neat detail when Daemon gets shot in the shoulder and freaks out and leaves, Caraxes before that lifted up his wing to block the arrows, which was a reflex of Caraxes, right? Yeah, but also when he flies away, he bobs and weaves as he doesn't fly straight up like Rick and Stark would. He bobs and weaves.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. Like the moment that Daemon gets the arrow in his shoulder, you can almost literally see Caraxes physically react to like, my boy, he got hit.
My rotten soldier.
My sweet cheese. My good time boy.
Andy tried to jump in and just went, my cheese.
That's my cheese. That's what he is.
And then we cut to, after that, just Viserys and Alicent have a male heir as discussed. It's the titular male heir, Aegon, second of his name. And they're at a giant celebratory feast. They're about to go on a hunt, and Tywin Lannister is rebuffed. He approaches Viserys and tries to give him a report on the battle in the Stepstones, the campaign in the Stepstones. It's not going well. We're going to need help from the crown. And Viserys doesn't want to talk about it.
He's like, not today.
It's been going on for 3 years. As Andy, you said 3 years. It's been 3. It's been going on for 3 years. It can wait 3 more days. I'm confused as to how, and I just missed this, but why is Tywin Lannister, who's a member of the council, so concerned about the Stepstones? Because it seems like it's only House Valyrian, who's, for all intents and purposes, not a friend to the Lannisters, that's being affected right now by this.
So Tywin was on the council? Has he been in this?
Yeah, they mentioned that he was on the council.
His brother
in
Jason
this episode, but we haven't seen him actually in a council position as of yet.
Lord
So
Jason was like, my twin's on the council. He's a douche.
Maybe he's like master of ships now. Like, has Corlys abdicated that position?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't think they.
I don't recall,
They
but I don't
didn't
think
say what his position on the council was.
Gotcha.
But he's.
But anyway, I mean, he's right in if you know, but he's really very concerned, and Viserys is not. He wants to party and celebrate his son. And there's like this Golden Corral buffet at this party, which I thought was interesting.
Hell yeah!
There was like a chocolate fountain, pizza, some wings,
the soft serve machine with all the sprinkles.
There was so much dessert flying around in this episode. It was awesome.
Like Viserys at one point just starts grabbing shit at this giant table, and I was like, oh, it's a Golden Corral buffet.
Later in the episode, we got to do with the clubfoot eating a cookie. Like, oh shit!
That's Larys Strong, my friend.
I did think it was interesting that Tywin mentions that the war obviously isn't going well, and one of the reasons he points out is Daemon is driving the men too hard, which I just think that's an interesting character choice for Daemon Targaryen.
Yeah, and Vaemon Valerian said the same thing. He was like, you need to take control of this war, Corlys, and that's way later in the episode. But I mean, there was this couple of people that were like, Daemon's crazy as fuck. We need to have control of him. And then he has his supporters as well. Like he's the only one doing anything, right? Curiously, also a Valerian that said that. They were infighting about that.
Yeah. But like this whole dinner table time, like Viserys is like, I don't want to talk about the war. Wait, where's Rhaenyra? And then someone else would come in and start talking about something. I don't care. Where's Rhaenyra? Like he really just wants his daughter to be a part of the celebration of her brother and his son. But obviously she has some feelings where she doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. This whole scene kind of had the vibes of, I don't know, maybe like an Aaron Sorkin or maybe even like a Safdie Brothers, where it was just like, where's Rhaenyra was the emotional linchpin of this scene. And they wanted all this like flowing chaos and you know, regality surrounding that central, and it was kind of nice.
Yeah, because at the same time, well, the scene kind of pops off with Otto Hightower talking to, I did not catch the name of this lord that was like, well, you should remind the Lord that he has a firstborn son, and we don't like ladies.
I believe his name was Douchebag number 2.
Oh, Lord Douchebag of Douchemark.
He also is the guy at the hunt where he's like, your second name day. Yeah. There's 2 of them, guys. It's been that long.
Yeah, you heard.
Where's Rhaenyra? And then it cuts to Rhaenyra. She's at the heart tree with a minstrel.
She's trying to read, trying to hear her favorite song over and over. I felt seen here because when I latch onto a song, I will listen to it on repeat the entire day. And every time I listen to it, I will hear something new and I'll be like, oh, that was dope. Now I'm going to listen to it again and see what else I can find.
Yeah. Rhaenyra was me.
She's like, oh shit.
Circa 2004.
I can ride my bike with no handlebars.
With my, no, it was before that. With my Kazaa cachet.
Yeah, Kazaa.
Just playing Pepper by the Butthole Surfers over and over and over.
It's a good song.
I don't mind the sun the images it shows. Banger. So
I love so the bard's name is Samwell. I don't know if you caught that.
I did not catch the bard of Samwell.
But I love, there's this really tiny minor character moment where she's like, play the song again. And the bard's like, would the lady like a different song? And she's like, the lady would not play it again. And he does this thing where he's like, he kind of cocks his head like, all right. And then you see his hand go like his fingers are tired.
So we can tell
a real thing playing guitar. Like, all right.
He's been playing that for hours. We're led to believe.
Yeah.
And she, who knows what she's reading, but she's trying to educate herself. Alicent comes out there and we get the sense immediately that there's the enmity has cooled, but basically they're not friends anymore. Mm-hmm. And Alicent is perpetually trying.
She ain't her cheese.
And she's being rebuffed. She's not her cheese, not her good time boy. And there's no rotten soldiering going on.
No.
And there's a little, but I love this scene because there's that. Like Alicent is legitimately trying to make the best of the situation and still rekindle some of that friendship that they had. But also there's the power struggle at play, right? Because the queen keeps trying to send the minstrel away and Rhaenyra keeps trying to keep the minstrel. And eventually she pulls rank. And she's like, the queen would like you to leave. And that's when shit goes, the minstrel's like, you're technically right. Mm-hmm. And he's very scared of Rhaenyra still. So he's like, and that poor guy.
That poor dude.
He's just trying to do his fucking job.
Yeah.
Now he's like, I might lose my head no matter what I do.
Just trying to jam.
I just want to jam, man.
Never be a bard for royals. It doesn't end well.
No, bards
sing.
Never goes well. Unless you're a warrior bard in some tales, which there's a book called Dominic about Rome. It's a warrior bard. Check it out.
The concept of a bard in general in fantasy has always been funny to me because it's like everybody else is doing battle. It's like Daemon fighting 50 people and somebody's sitting there playing like Smoke on the Water, like kick some ass, go kick some ass. And it's like that's their whole job.
But some of the best scenes are bards.
Yeah.
Toss a coin to your witcher.
Yeah.
Right? That's a banger and a half. I'm going to go listen to that after this. Not right now.
Right now. Just
I want to, but it's not thematically relevant. We also noticed, maybe we noticed before, but I didn't notice until this scene that Alicent is preggers again. So she's pregnant with the second child.
Not only is she preggers.
Super preggers.
She is mega preggers.
Mega pregs.
Meg pregs.
Didn't show it in the face though. She wears it well.
It's almost like it's not real.
She's the most comely woman of court. Of course, she wouldn't show it in her face. But yeah. I kind of feel bad for Alicent here because she, you're
going to get so many hate emails from that
statement. I kind of feel bad for her.
I agree with you. It's because the portrayal of Alicent Hightower in the books is just nothing. It's 100% conniving.
Yeah, 100%.
100% methodical. She's like the Peter Baelish of the books. And I think they've done a great job in making her, like I said last episode, a tragic figure. Yeah. But I made that video on TikTok and I got, fuck her, And I'm like, no, just separate it and try to look exactly what they're doing with the show.
Yeah, because they're doing this really great thing where they're portraying that she obviously cares about her friend. She's not 100% comfortable with the position she's in thanks to her dad. Like even in the last episode when she's kind of hanging out with Viserys and she gives Viserys like the marble dragon, she's still picking at her nails, and it's such a visual representation that she is not super comfortable with this, but she's doing it because she feels like she has to.
Yeah.
It's like her father's making her. And I mean, she's not like saying no, she's not like not doing it. But at the same time, like we've already seen so many representations of women in this world kind of resigning to this, like this is the way it is. And it's very sad and tragic that her best friend is like fighting against that wheel. And they're obviously going to be, adversaries because of the way this world is structured and pitted them against each other.
Yeah.
It is sad because she's trying to like, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. We can still be friends. Like, I don't want to replace you.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it's worth feeling empathy towards her.
I agree. I agree. And I think, and a lot of people's arguments having read the book was like, yeah, but where it goes, I was like, that's the tragedy of it.
That's where that went, not where this is going.
Yeah.
Like we have already started in a different place. So where it goes has no bearing on what you're watching.
No bearing.
Yeah. You're going to take the word of mushroom.
How much bearing? I wish Mushroom was in this story. I feel like he's got to show up at some point.
I think Mushroom will show up in some way.
Has
shape or form. What's the Maester's name that is also writing the...
It starts with a G, I want to say.
So this story in the book is being written from two points of view. It's this court jester named Mushroom and then a Maester.
Well, it's the Maester writing everything, but then periodically he'll bring up a Septon's account of something and he'll bring up Mushroom's account of something. And Mushroom was a fool.
Yeah, all his accounts are very salacious and probably
drunken,
not true.
Like, oh, they were all banging each other and then, whatever. And it's always like a much more entertaining version of the tale. But Mushroom was also very loyal to Rhaenyra. So they're always, and that's the point a lot of people make too, is the books are geniusly written as propaganda against the High Towers. So that's why Alicent is painted that way.
Right.
And so it's just really interesting stuff when you start to break it down.
For sure.
We cut back to the crew and, she basically commands Rhaenyra to join the hunting party. And Rhaenyra is being really petty. She doesn't want to. She knows this is all to celebrate Aegon, who she resents because he's in her mind replacing her as heir. Not to mention she's still not over the fact that Alicent, her best friend, and actually a little bit romantic crush, is married to Viserys. That's something we didn't talk about much in the last couple of episodes. But did you guys get a romantic vibe between Alicent and Rhaenyra at any point?
Nothing explicit, but now that you mention it, I could see where that could come.
Yeah, that element was always there. But Emily Carey, the actress who plays Alicent, was, and I think Rhaenyra as well, spoke up and confirmed like there's definitely an element of romantic love there. But in the sense that, and I thought this was genius, I'm not going to explain it well, but it's her first friend. And like she, again, this is me paraphrasing and I'm a dude, I'm doing my best. Right. But like, there's always this element, not always, but there's often an element of blurred lines between platonic and romantic, between female friends, or at least maybe like early female friendships, or that's the way she was saying it, or one of the showrunners was saying it. But anyway, if you're sensing that was there, it's 100% intentional as far as the cast and crew are concerned. So
okay, cool. There's that. She was laying on her lap.
And then we cut back to, indeed.
I mean, if I was laying on your lap, I was about to suck that dick. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Andy, lay there. This is awkward because, well, let's talk about what we did yesterday.
The next scene, they're all in a carriage together, all the royalty heading out to the hunt. And essentially, Rhaenyra is still making her displeasure at being there very well known. Just pooping all over the party. Mm-hmm. She's a party pooper.
Yeah, it's a little awkward because Viserys is like, hey, you're going to give me a grandsire at some point. And
she gives him such a look of loathing.
She gives him the loathing look. And then Alicent's like, it's not that bad. I had a kid. It was cool. Which is like, how did you good for you? Did you know what happened to her mother?
Yeah, like awkward, very insensitive.
They cut to like her handmaids who are just like rolling their eyes when she's like, he came out without a fuss. And they're like, there was a fuss.
Oh, there was a fuss.
There was a fuss.
There's a lot of fussing. And then we cut to everyone clapping. There's this giant party again and everyone's clapping about the kid and they call him the Conqueror Babe. I don't know if you guys caught that line. like the conqueror baby is their thing. Cause he's the same
Aegon
name
the
as the conqueror. Yeah.
That's
But
cool. I didn't catch that.
conqueror
Second
babe.
of his name, Aegon.
But that's what I mean is this scene centers again on Rhaenyra having been replaced, right? Because the camera kind of pans over her and then the whole crowd of clapping happy people.
Well, she stayed in the carriage for a second there.
Well, yeah, cuts from her, I should say. You're right. And then there's a mention, my notes get very, very crazy, but there's a Lady Joanna, right? That
They talk about Lady Joanna who was kidnapped, and they said, what's going to happen to her? And she's going to be sold to a
Liz.
pillow house in Liz.
Did we hear what house Lady Joanna was from?
We did not, no.
I didn't hear it.
Because Joanna was Tyrion's mother's name, right? Joanna Lannister.
Yeah.
Right?
That was one of your questions on our quiz game. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but we see Larys Strong, the Clubfoot. So he's Lionel Strong's brother, I believe. He's of House Strong. He does become important. So remember the Clubfoot, not the Clubfoot specifically, but the person.
Feet.
And then we see Lady Sarah of House Redwine.
Yes.
And she's real smarmy, right? She's just kind of all about the hot goss. She's got her little lap dog.
Little pug is so cute. I love pugs.
She's like a LA influencer lady. She's like, what is Rhaenyra wearing? Type of person, right? Mm-hmm. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah, she's a very big gossiper.
She wore that dress at the last hunt.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a hunting color dress.
Yeah, this was an interesting scene because Alicent is there, and this looks like this is where the ladies of court kind of hang out when there's a hunt going on, and they kind of hang out together and they're gossiping and all that stuff, all things that you would assume that Rhaenyra hates, and so she tries to join the conversation, and she is immediately like, I fucking hate all this. I hate this Lady Redwine lady.
Well, and she's kind of peeking on the conversation and then gets pulled into it by Redwine. She's like standing behind the curtain. They're like, perhaps you could enlighten us, princess. That's true, yeah. And she's like, oh, okay.
And she's very hostile toward much her betters, right? Which is her own fault. But Rhaenyra gets a jab back in.
Well, because I forget what she says. She says something like, she asks her,
something about Daemon.
Daemon's in charge. What is he up to? And she's like, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in years. And she makes this jab like, what have you done for the court other than eating cake, Lady Redwine? And it's like, you can see that she really...
A Marie Antoinette reference.
Yeah, she really... and also a Rhaenyra reference, because at one point, all Rhaenyra wanted to do was go eat cake.
Oh, that's true. That was a brilliant pull, Steve. Boom. That's growth in her character. We're talking about arc shit now.
She don't fuck with cake no more.
No more cake.
No, she is very resentful of her place in this world once it was made obvious to her like what was going to happen, and now she's been named heir. She feels like she has so much to contribute to the world, but she's not being allowed to. She's toothless, as she says later in the episode. And here's this woman just gossiping, and all she can think of is like, well, what are you fucking doing? Like, I want to be out there doing stuff, not here with you mother hens henning it up,
Yeah.
So you can and the other interesting thing is Alicent really goes to bat for her friend still. Like at one point she like speaks up and defends Rhaenyra to Lady Redwine. So yeah,
she's trying.
She's trying her damn best, and she's mega preg,
Yeah.
Her feet probably hurt, and she's still out there throwing her foot down for her friend.
She's like 5 centimeters dilated, just like holding out this olive branch. Like, please take it.
Please.
It's very heavy. Please. I'm not supposed to be holding this. It's actually a huge branch.
I'm not supposed to be lifting.
I don't think this tree is going to be okay. And we cut to outside the party. Lord Jason Lannister is introduced, and he approaches Rhaenyra, who's left the hot goss sesh, offers her some of the finest sweet honeyed wine from Lannisport, of course, which is the city outside Casterly Rock. And he's basically bragging on himself a ton. We're fucking dope. I don't know if you guys heard about the Lannisters, but we, starts with an L, but we're W's. See what I'm saying?
For real.
Super rich. I could probably build you a whole dragon pit. And she's like, dragon pit for what? And he's like, to fucking park your dragon. So I'm saying, lady, when you live in my house.
My house is taller than the wall.
Yeah, it's super tall.
Yeah.
You want to come see my house? You want to see my crib?
You want to see how big my rock is?
Yeah.
Dude, he's spitting game hard.
I've got 37 horses.
Count them.
He's really making it obvious. Like, no, I want you to be my lady.
Check out this fucking dope ass spear I made for your dad.
It's sick.
It's super pointy.
It's sick. So it becomes very clear to her that he's courting her, and she's not liking it. So she gives him back his wine and says, I'm a roll out. And so it cuts back to Rhaenyra. Is this where she confronts Viserys immediately, right?
Right.
And he's you have to get betrothed. And they have a huge fight in the middle of the whole party. And she's like, I'm not going to get betrothed. And he's like, you're of age, which apparently didn't matter anyway, but it's really important to him now. And he's right? Like her, as far as royalty is concerned, she's eventually going to have to marry somebody. And she's upset because this is the last little vestige of control that she seems to have. And she sees it as more evidence that she has no control of her own life whatsoever anymore.
Right. And he has a good line of like, even I'm not above the rules and traditions of our land. And then we didn't mention it earlier, but there's a moment where Jason Lannister's walking in the tent and Viserys kind of gives him this knowing nod. Like, so Viserys knew he was going to do that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the whole, and that's what Rhaenyra gets so angry about is the whole reason he insisted that she attend this event was in large part or in whole part due to this.
Oh, I didn't put that together until just now. That's good.
Because he kept saying, where's Rhaenyra? Where's Rhaenyra? Because he's concocted this whole plan that they're going to talk. So.
Jason's got the spear.
The spear.
His rock is really big. All right. It's a big ass rock.
The biggest.
It's bigger than the wall.
But Otto interrupts for two reasons. I think it is time to start the hunt, or the hunters have found the white hart, the white deer. But also he doesn't want the argument taking place in public like that.
Yeah, because all the conversations in the tent stop and they're all looking, all eyes on them.
Like, oh shit. They're all taking pictures with their iPhones and shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be all over Twitter by the very next day.
But like
not
you
a
said,
good look.
They found a white stag, a white hart, and it's a good portent for the prince's birth.
Dude, it's the fucking best portent.
So good. Of all the portents.
They said that used to be the sigil of the ruling family prior to the dragons. So
it was seen as a sigil of royalty. Yeah.
I thought a sigil of the ruling family, but a good symbol, I thought. Because there wasn't a ruling family before the Targaryens. There were 7 different kingdoms.
Right.
But he says royalty, but I don't know if he says a royal family.
I don't know. Well, it becomes a stag eventually.
It does, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway, it's a big deal. And they said, like, even Otto says, I'm not one for, omens.
Not a superstitious guy.
But
unless it's in my favor.
Pretty big coincidence. You know what I'm saying?
I'm the same way. Like, I don't believe in astrology or anything like that. But if there's something good, like my wife will be like,
but then you read your horoscope and you're like, oh shit.
Oh, damn.
I do love my friends.
Much success today. I better venture out. But if it's something bad, I'm like, it's bullshit. No way. And we cut to Rhaenyra galloping away after this argument, right? That she gets shot down. She just wants to go be free. So she takes her horse and leaves the party, leaves the whole little carnival looking ass thing. And Sir Criston Cole, member of the Kingsguard, tasked specifically with protecting her, is like, oh shit. So he hops on his horse and chases her. He does catch her, and I thought very dangerously grabs her horse bridle. I'm not a horseman. I'm not a horseman, but he could have caused an accident rather than evaded one by doing that. But he does gain control of both his horse and hers.
Equestrians, write in and let us know how dangerous was that.
Yes, please do, Equestrians. I've also been watching Horse Girl with Alison Brie on Netflix. So
is it good?
It's very strange.
I love her,
but it has horses. Much. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Oh, thanks.
It is relevant.
Oh, good. Horses. Yeah. Who doesn't love a horse?
And they have a quick a quick little chat, and you can tell that they've grown close over the last 3 years that the time has passed, right? Because she's very at ease with him. She starts to tell him what's going on with her. This is all bullshit. Jason Lannister, blah, 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 right? And then cool line, Criston Cole looks at her and says, do you want me to kill him?
Yeah.
And she smiles. She cheers her up. Like the idea of death and murder cheers her up immediately. She's a Targaryen.
Yeah.
That just warms my heart that you kill him.
Like, aw, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really needed that. The visual of you killing me.
Thank you. That's what I needed today.
Yeah. But that is a fun little way to say, like, yo, you're being dramatic right now.
Also that.
Do you need me to kill him? And she's like, fuck. No, you don't need to kill him.
But maybe. And then Criston Cole says to her, all that I have, I owe to you. And so we see the source of his devotion because he comes from a very lowly house. He's the son of the steward of House Blackhaven. So he was going to marry a common born girl and be a nothing knight in his own estimation until she, nominated him for the Kingsguard. And so it's a lofty position no one in his family ever dreamed of holding. And he is very grateful to Rhaenyra specifically for that. And we cut back to the hunting party and they're all just holding deer shit and comparing it, sniffing it, touching it, tasting it. My king, I found some really good shit here, my lord.
Take a hit of this. What do you think?
Your Grace? Oh, that is good shit.
Oh, it's fresh.
Yeah,
2 hours old, your
Merely
Grace.
3 hours, precisely.
Damn, this shit's only 2 hours old.
Otto, I need to wipe this upon your cloak. I have soiled my glove.
So funny. Otto comes up and says something to him. He's like, and just doesn't even think about it and just rubs it on him. Just like, oh, okay.
Well, the king eats, the hand shits. The king hunts, and the hand cleans the shit off his hands.
And the hand wipes.
Yep.
Indeed.
Yep.
Indeed. We cut back to Jason Lannister. This is back in the little tent party. And the king's getting fucking wasted upon his little camp throne. And Jason Lannister gives him a spear. We've been talking about the whole time. He gives him a spear perfect to be stabbed into the white heart, which sounded like a maybe veiled symbolic threat a little bit.
Yeah, all three of us kind of looked at each other like, oh, God, that's probably not what he means, but it could mean that.
Well, it's heart, H-A-R-T.
Yeah.
But, and this was a really cool scene because, again, in the books, Viserys, not again, but again, there's a big difference in the books. Viserys is painted mostly as a very inept and weak king, which he often is that in this story as well. But he also has these moments of strength that we don't get to see in the books. And he, at some point, Jason Lannister looks at him and says, well, my house offers strength. And I like the really subtle way that Viserys kind of drunkenly like cocks his head like, do you think our house lacks for strength? And shit starts to go downward from there.
I love the line where he says that and the guy goes, well, sir, would you deny dragons if it were being offered to you? And he goes, are you offering dragons?
You have dragons? That would be dope.
That would be really cool.
So that's really cool. But then he starts bumbling and stumbling, Jason Lannister, and, implies, well, I was just merely saying that I could take your daughter in and give her station beyond what she might have with the new circumstances. And what new circumstances? Like, well, you're about to name Aegon the heir, right? I mean, everybody assumes everybody. It is your job to stifle rebellion when it stems, and so it gets really awkward. And essentially what he's saying is very vocally, very publicly saying, I am still very much in support of Rhaenyra. She has no need of your protection. She's the heir, right? Which is a plot twist. And I guarantee you becomes very important. And I thought that was cool because I support Rhaenyra as well. I don't know if I can say I stan Rhaenyra here.
Yep. Big same.
Yep. Same.
Okay, we stan Rhaenyra,
and
so we were all very much in support of that.
Yeah, this was I really like this scene with Viserys. It's just really good to affirm that. And you're right, because in the books, he is this like dopey kind of stupid character, but in the show, he's this. They really go out of their way to paint him as like, he's a good man who is woefully ill-equipped for this job, and so it makes it like. You can empathize with him very much. Like he just hates being in the position that he's in, and it's driving him mad. It's killing him.
I don't fully relinquish him though, because he very much sought the throne. He could have easily just said, sure, Rhaenys and Corlys should be the royal ruling couple, but he campaigned for it. He won to, the destruction of the entire realm.
He's like, a lot of people have made this comparison, but he's like the Robb Stark of this series, where it's like good dude making dumb decisions. Yeah, for
Rob's dumb as shit.
Yeah, for dumb reasons. Yeah,
He's a good battle leader, though.
He was a brilliant tactician on the field, just not a good politician. Sorry, Walder, but I found a new hotter one. Why are you angry? Then Otto.
Why would you stab Robb on his wedding day?
And then Otto presents another option. So Otto Hightower walks up. Viserys is kind of like, Jason's a douche. Rhaenyra didn't like him. And Otto suggests, I think I have another option. You could a little closer to home, perhaps. And Viserys is like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm super drunk. Getting drunker. And he says Prince Aegon. So his suggestion is that Rhaenyra, the 17-year-old daughter of Viserys, should marry the 2-year-old son of Viserys. And Viserys, Targaryen he may be, drunk he may be, he's very distraught by this, or at least somewhat.
Yeah. Huh? What? Being Targaryen, he should have been like, whoa, why didn't I think of that?
Well, the kids too. That's why I didn't think of it. They're going to be betrothed for another 15 years before an actual wedding could take place.
But this, in a way, it's kind of, as sweet as you can be in this Game of Thrones world. But like, it's kind of sweet where like Viserys is like, I just want her to be happy. That's all I want. I want to make my daughter happy and have a good, happy life.
Otto says the line, you're not just her father, you're her king. He's always trying to stress that kingly duty. And Viserys is so worn out. There's 3 or 4 times in this episode where he's just trying to party or be normal. And the kingliness of his situation, it keeps interrupting him, right? Like the Stepstones War, the constant fucking politicking, as he says. And, but yeah, again, this is the life he chose, unfortunately for him and the realm. But that's what Otto's suggestion is. It kind of stays for there. And this is the part where he says that. Can I just sit for a second without the constant fucking politicking? And Otto says, we will leave it here for now. But yes,
knights who say fuck.
I think your kid should marry.
See that toddler over there?
And then there's this lingering shot of like the lights dim, because now we're in the POV of Viserys and he's getting drunker and he's sadder and he hates all this shit. And it starts to kind of pan around the room and the laughter and mirth of everyone kind of starts to sound dark and maniacal. And it reminds me of that song by The Doors. People are strange. Women seem wicked. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I think that was a good visualization of how just alone Viserys is. Like how he feels so alone. Like there's literally no one who has his back in court, and he just hates it all, right?
Indeed. And then Lionel Strong, once again, offers up his own opinion. That's a really funny scene because you've seen Viserys cuss a couple of people out now. And then
he's getting shitty drunk.
At the source of that.
Fuck you more.
At the height of his awkwardness,
cool.
Lionel comes up sheepishly and he's like, might I offer an opinion, Your Grace? And I was thinking in my head, like, no, I don't think you can. And he's the one again that counseled Viserys to marry Laena Valyrian in the last episode. And so he's like, as before, I think you should marry the Valyrians. So Rhaenyra should marry Laenor Valyrian, the son of Corlys and Rhaenys, is what.
Should he survive the battle at Stepstone?
Yeah, because he's one of the people fighting.
It was actually kind of cool. He was like, Viserys said, let me guess, Rhaenyra should marry your son.
Right.
And he's like, you honor me, but no. Yeah, I think that she should marry the Valyrian kid. Also brings up the war. And like, I think that he.
For the same reason as last time, your houses are no more. The rift between you is no more narrow than it was last time I mentioned this. And they're a very important house. And he's 100% correct in all of that stuff. Yet again, right? And then let's take a moment for a second just to thank all of our listeners for listening and doing what you do. You can follow us on Twitter at streamingthingspod. You can also write in at any time. We got a big mailbag episode coming up soon at streamingthingspod@gmail.com. That's streamingthingpod@gmail.com. You can also subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/streamingthings for extra bonus content and episodes of all kinds. We've got different rewards depending on the tier, Discord access to join the community, merchandise, guest spots on the show.
Discord is popping off.
It is. It's so fun. There's GIFs in there, or GIFs, if you will. You can also just, it's GIFs. If you will, I won't. You can also, what other thing? You could force us to watch certain movies and do an entire episode on them. There's different.
You can be on an episode.
Yeah. Different tiers and rewards like that at patreon.com/streamingthings. If you can afford to do something like that, that would be wonderful. If not, we completely understand. You can support us for free by just rating and reviewing the show wherever you're listening to it right now. You help boost us up in the algorithm, the feeds, right? We were on the top of the mountain with Stranger Things, but there's a lot of the big dogs are out here with House of the Dragon and Rings of Power.
Yep.
But I think if more people knew about us, they would enjoy us the way that you do. So help them find us. That's just my theory.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Because you're smart.
No.
Lead the way.
Yeah.
I think that's all the business
Be
news.
the torch bearers I know you can be.
Yeah, bear those torches. Back to the show. We cut back to Kristen Cole and Rhaenyra. They're sitting by a fire. So they've stayed in the King's Wood all day. And they're out there chilling by a fire. He's now got his armor taken off. So he's like mega chilling. He feels very safe. And we see the horses slowly become disturbed. And there's a cool scene where he like draws his sword. But now he's not wearing armor. He's like, oh shit, the horses something's about. And it's a giant fucking boar. The boar comes running out. Mega hits Kristen. He flies like 12 feet.
Shit out of him. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Damn. Boars are very strong. I don't know much about boar.
I think it's right into Rhaenyra's face and she's able to hold that thing off for a couple seconds.
I'm pretty sure the plural of boar is boar.
What?
I keep saying boars.
Oh, sorry.
That's how little I know about boars.
Hey, you know what? I wasn't going to correct you.
Hey, man.
I didn't know that.
I know it's a giant pig. Exactly. Yeah. That's all I know. So he knocks, the boar knocks Kristen asunder and chases Rhaenyra and like crawls over her. She barely holds the boar off. How much do you think that boar weighs?
A lot.
200 pounds, maybe.
Like 3 Rhaenyras at least.
Yeah. It's not a good sitch.
Yeah.
And he almost stabs Rhaenyra through the skull trying to protect her. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
my lady.
I accidentally stuck the princess like a pig. Stuck pig. Whoops.
The lady was killed by the boar.
Through a stuck pig.
Yeah, the boar had a sword. The craziest shit I've ever seen.
It was weird, you guys. Luckily, I stabbed it.
I stabbed it, and then it ran with my sword and used my sword to kill her.
We should see if it has family and that it can also wield swords. This is awkward.
Some of them might have bows. We should get out of here.
Shit, can you imagine? Holy shit.
They're forming an army.
So he saves Rhaenyra, but then there's a cool scene where she... The boar is still alive and threatens her again. She pulls her own knife and just maniacally stabs the boar, and there's blood shooting everywhere. This is one of those scenes that I was talking about where I was like, I think the pacing of the episode's great and there's some really high highs, but I think they used digital blood in this scene.
They did.
And it was very noticeable.
The blood on her face was pretty obviously not real.
And well, I don't know if I think they put some makeup on. I don't know, but the squirting of it was definitely digital, and it bothered me because remember I told you guys I was watching 5 seasons in 1 week of The Last Kingdom, which is very low budget at times, but very, very entertaining. That's the kind of shit that would do. Like when they would pull a sword out of a body, it would be a very obvious digital squirt. And I'm just like, little shit like that would make me kind of laugh. But in this show, my baby, I was like, I don't want to see anything like that. And I did. I mean, it's $20 million an episode. And I'm the last person to usually do this. I'm always like, hey, don't be so nitpicky, blah, blah, blah. But it just kind of, what otherwise, spoiler alert, is one of my favorite moments of the episode, character wise. I was like, oh, damn it. What the fuck? That didn't affect either of you as much?
Well, you and I found out personally in making movies how difficult it is to do the squirting blood onto the face shot.
Yeah, it's literally an exact scene, except a person, not a boar, that we tried to film.
Yeah. And we like squirted our actress in the eye like the first try, and like it was like we
can only do one take. Yeah. She was a super trooper, though.
She was.
We got the take we wanted. It looked better than that.
Yeah, it honestly may have. But I understand the reason.
We put fake blood in a squirt bottle and had our makeup artist like slightly out of frame squirting the actress. Yeah. And one of her first squeezes of it went straight into Katie's eye. Yeah.
Oh no.
But anyway, I don't know. There was also a couple of the dragons flying, like specifically the one that's not Caraxes. I don't want to say the name because that's my thing for later. But
I was going to say the name.
Sea Smoke.
Yeah.
Is that the Valyrian's dragon?
Yeah, it's Lenore Valyrian's dragon is Sea Smoke. I don't think Sea Smoke looked super great at times. Not the dragon itself, but the fact that Lenore was riding him was like very obviously rough.
Yeah, the worst shot, because that was like a little rough, but as I said before, like I can forgive them for that kind of shit. But the one shot again, like I'm like, why would you even put that in this show? It was the establishing shot of when they were returning to King's Landing. It was that wide of the carriage going up the hill. Like that looks so bonkers fake.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why they included that at that point.
I didn't even catch that, but I might have been taking some notes or something.
It's just really poorly compositioned people on the street where it's like, they're clearly not they're not there. And then the street doesn't even look real. There's like no real shadow casting happening on the ground. It just looked really bad. And like, I can forgive the dragon shit because that's hard. Putting you on blast HBO. No, I'm not really. I know it's hard.
No, we love your shows.
No, the thing with special effects, and people need to know this, the thing with special effects, like you can yell at a special effects team for making something that looks like shit, right? And it's a fair criticism if it doesn't look good. Typically what's happening isn't that the special effects team isn't super talented and can't do better. It's that with all things movie and TV related, it comes down to time and money. And so when you don't have enough, you don't give the artists enough time to make things that look as good as they can, it can result in that. It's typically not because the artists themselves aren't good. It's just they didn't have either as much time or as much money as they should have to make that.
That's how you get the Superman mustache fiasco.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, though, I love this moment for Rhaenyra's character. This is like a sense of catharsis for her. She's exploding all of the rage about Alicent Hightower and Aegon II and her place in the world, her hopes and dreams, the cake, the dragons, and this fucking boar, And I could empathize even a lot with that moment, just because, I know what it's like when like your whole day's going to shit. You had a shitty day at work. You didn't get the promotion you wanted. The guy you like least got the promotion. You order some food at Wendy's and they get your order wrong. And they there's vegetables that you told him to take off all over it. And then it's cold as shit. It tastes like ass. And then, the drinks diet and you wanted regular, and then you're out of gas and you have to hike to get the gas. And then
tell me how the rest of your day was.
and then you get home and like, the mail, there's a bill in the mailbox and you walk in your house and then you stub your toe on the table that you asked your cousin to move yesterday. Like that's, you know what I mean? After a day, and then you just fucking beat the table to pieces or something.
I'm glad that story ended with a table getting beaten. This whole time I was wondering, like, who's getting the ire of Chris in this?
None of this is real.
Then you drive back to Wendy's.
I always
grab your gun.
Hold on. I always had a great experience at Wendy's. I don't have a job where I can be promoted nor care. And I don't talk to any of my cousins. So that was all made up, but I have experienced stuff like that many times. Is all I was trying to say, right?
Yeah, we all have.
In that instance, it was the boar. And I just liked it. I thought it was
do
neat.
love me some Wendy's.
That's true. Spicy nuggets and a Baconator or Dave's Double.
Spicy
We
chicken.
should reach out to the Wendy's Twitter account, let them know we gave them a free plug. Maybe Wendy's Twitter will be cool and retweet us.
Wendy's is cool. The Twitter account, at least. Then we cut back to Viserys. He's looking into this giant pyre. I don't know why he built this fucking thing. I don't know why he couldn't just have a bunch of smaller fires or a little one.
What are they burning?
I thought
what
that
a
was
kingly campfire.
I thought that was just the general. I thought that was just the general campfire that everyone could partake in, but
Apparently.
but everyone else was in bed.
The food was buffet style, so I guess their campfire is as well. And so it's just come collect some fire if you wish.
One plate at a time, please.
But now he's wasted. I mean, he's just out of his mind drunk. Alicent finds him there. And this is where he gets really, really brutally honest. So he's already shown his support for Rhaenyra with Jason Lannister, but now he's wasted. He's talking to Alicent and he's talking about, hey, I named Rhaenyra the Realm's Delight, which was, I think it's the first time we've heard that. It's from the books.
It sounded like it was the first time. I remember reading that too.
It's her nickname in the books, and she was supposed to be this very well-loved princess all throughout the land, and they called her the Realm's Delight. So he says that. And then he says that there's, many of us are dragon riders, but few among us are dreamers. Talking about Daenerys the dreamer, like the literal prophecy dreams. And he's like, what's a better power, a dragon or a prophecy? And he believed himself to be one of the dreamers and not one of the dragon riders, and said that, he had this vision of a male babe with a conqueror's crown and thought that was his destiny to have a young son.
Because Aegon, the original Aegon the Conqueror, famously had was it a silver crown? It was like not a kingly crown, right?
Yeah, it was a battle crown. Yeah. It wasn't like an adorned thing. But yeah, and he says, what if I was wrong to make Rhaenyra his heir, right? So he said eventually after his wife died, he gave up on the idea of that vision. It must have been wrong. And so I thought I would protect the realm from Daemon and do the right thing by my daughter. And what if I was wrong to do that? And so what I love, I can't say too much without spoiling, right? But just know that knowing where things go, there's like some Shakespearean level complex tragedy bricks being laid in this episode specifically that are really, really cool for both sides is what I'm saying.
Hard agree.
And then it cuts back to the cornered stag. So they found the stag, not the white hart. They've kind of said lowered their standards a bit. Like, we got a big ass fucking deer. Let's just end this thing.
It's not white, but it's pretty cool looking.
It's a big motherfucker. Come stab it.
Your Grace, we found a dope deer. Oh, it's the deer? It's a dope deer.
It's really cool.
It's not the deer, but let's not be picky.
Some say it's the brownest deer. The most normal of deers, but pretty cool nonetheless.
And they're like covering their tracks already. They're like, many say a brown deer is a good portent, my lord.
Your Grace, the men have spent at least 6 hours just tying it up by its antlers. It's been a moment. It's been a day. Can we just...
It's really sad though. Like, there's just 3 guys like holding this deer in place and all these people looking like, it's time to stab it, Your Grace, for the hunt. You've hunted well.
You've done a great job. Hunting this deer.
You've sat in a chair and gotten wasted for 2 days, and you're such a good hunter, Your Grace.
Wait, no, stab here, not there.
Yeah, and then there's that too, where it's like he tells him exactly where to stab, and he stabs, but it's not in the right spot. And the deer's just like super hurt now. Like, ow, what the fuck, mate? I wish it was talking. Gods be good. And he has to stab it a second time. There's a moment I loved about this. Andy called attention to it in the opening of the episode. Before we get to see his hand and the 2 fingers that have been severed, in this scene, he's holding the spear, and his glove has just got 2 fingers sticking up because there's no fingers in it. And I was just like super obvious. And I wrote that note because I was like, that is such a good fucking detail, because I remembered that I thought it was just because his finger was still extremely sensitive, or even worse off. They don't exist anymore. But that was a cool moment, like while he's holding the spear. And he's so weird. He's taking no joy in this either, right?
No.
This is just the ultimate version of his responsibilities and ceremonial bullshit. Like, stab the deer. Deer didn't do anything to me.
Well, he's also super hungover at this point.
I think he's still drunk
He
right
ain't having
now.
a good time.
It is next morning. I don't know if he ever went to bed. I don't know. It's been a long time.
He's not of the right mind.
He's not feeling great.
Well, and they talked about after the episode that there was like almost a sense of relief where, he's reconsidering the things that he was saying in his drunkenness the night before. Like,
yes,
was I wrong in naming Rhaenyra as the heir and stuff?
He's emotionally hungover. He's literally hungover.
The symbolic portent of killing the white stag is no longer what he's doing. And he's like, okay, well, I still got to kill this thing, but it's no longer like in the honor. It's no longer like such a big omen for Aegon needing to be named the heir or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like it.
Doesn't even need an omen. And we cut back to Rhaenyra, covered in blood, surveying all of the Kingswood and a bunch of land around it, right? Just thinking on things. And then while she's doing that, the White Hart arrives and seems to, and Kristen Cole's like just going to stab it with a sword or something, I guess is his plan. And Rhaenyra's like, no. She does the little like,
pretty sure that's not how it works.
Yeah. And then,
but that's a cool portent.
And then, hey, don't stab my portent.
Yeah.
Do not stab my portent. And the White Hart and Rhaenyra kind of have a moment. Like the White Hart's like, what's up? I'm your portent. And then he runs away.
Yeah, it's a really cool symbolic, because obviously it's visually the storytellers are telling us that, she's supposed to be that portent is for her, but also her telling Kristen Cole not to kill it is also smart, because if she does kill it and bring it into camp, people are still gonna be like, see, oh my God, the portent for the boy.
Well, I would think it would be another way, like,
she stole the portent.
Yeah, she's a portent stealer.
Yeah, that too. It could be that as well.
Yeah. So it's bad vibes either way. But I like to think that she just didn't want to kill it because it was a majestic creature.
Oh, and that's 100% what's going on. Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
Just like her.
Indeed. Indeed. And Kristen Cole.
More so for Kristen Cole.
He's a majestic man.
Look at that
majestic creature.
Look at that hair.
Goddamn.
Looking like a snack.
And then
looking like a cake.
Right after this, Rhaenyra waltzes back into camp. Nobody knows where she's been for the last day and a half. They sent people looking for her and Sir Kristen. And they said, they're together, I assume. And she's covered in blood and gore. Nobody knows where she's been. Everybody else is dining and eating the deer, I'm guessing, venison, if you will. And it's kind of like this walk of shame. You know what I mean?
No, it's a badass walking.
Yeah,
No. Everybody else is looking at her like,
it's super badass, but it also kind of reminds me of like the next morning after you hooked up and you're all drunk.
Like
and
her heel's broken.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
got mascara
I thought that was
smeared.
like a really strong moment for her, because like she looks like a complete badass, and no one knows what to
even
do
her
with
dad doesn't even know what to say.
I get what you were saying though, for it being a walk of shame. Just the next morning, where you been all night?
Just the next morning where you been. That's
like,
all.
why are you covered in blood?
You know, guys, how it is after you hook up.
Oh, there's a pig. Oh, sweet. We're getting some pork sandwiches. Pulled pork.
Pulled pork, baby.
Yeah, baby.
I do love pulled pork. And we cut to Otto pushing an air on Alicent, right? Like, so he's, Yo, Grace, he's fucking never stops politicking, right? Like, just
I hate Otto so much.
Such a doucher.
That middle finger.
How's the hunt, Yo, Grace? Fucking hate him. Yo, Grace.
How's my grandchild doing?
Has he king yet? Have you asked the king if he could be king? So we could king? And he's playing checkers all the time, just constant, king me. That's all he ever did. Sir, you've moved it one square.
King me.
That's not. You moved one piece to the left. King me.
King me again.
King me again.
Do it again.
He's terrible at checkers. But God damn it, Rhaenyra's playing chess, Otto.
Yeah, he's manipulating Alicent even more to try to get her to manipulate Viserys into naming Aegon the heir rather than Rhaenyra. And again, you can just see just the rock and the hard space that you see that Alicent is in between.
Yeah, you need to make Viserys see it because he will never see it himself. That Aegon II should be king, and he says something very telling in this scene. He says because Alicent, again defending Rhaenyra, says, "I think she'd be a great queen." Mm-hmm. And Otto responds, "It wouldn't matter if she was the second or the Jaehaerys born again. She's a woman." Right. And that's his thoughts on the matter. Like, it really doesn't fucking matter. The realm will be torn asunder. And he believes it probably, I think I would give it to him that he is delusional enough to believe that he's doing this for the realm, right? Mm-hmm. Not that he's trying to push his own house to higher heights.
The fact that he gets to push his own house is a plus.
Oh, yes. King me.
King me.
King me for the realm.
Well, yeah, I do agree that like he probably, and he's not wrong that Rhaenyra as queen with a younger brother that's a trueborn son, the realm would lose their goddamn minds if he wasn't, the son wasn't the king, you know.
Which is why he was trying to get them to marry. So he's like, then I don't have to politic quite so hard.
That's what we call two birds, one
high tower. Oh, fuck.
One Casterly rock. Sorry.
There's too many.
I see what you did there.
Too many different family metaphors in that in that idiom.
Yep.
And we cut back to Viserys.
Two Robin Aarons, one Casterly rock.
There you go.
Like it. King me.
Viserys is super hungover. Alicent goes to visit him. He's sitting by the fire.
I love his line, "The gods have punished me for my indulgences."
As indeed they do.
Ooh, I'm going to say that next time I'm hungover.
But he was like, #worth it at the same time.
Yeah, he even did the like, he did the little hand gesture, #worth it.
Mm-hmm. Good party.
Pulled pork.
See that giant ass fire out? What if he was just so wasted he did that and everybody was like, what is he doing? Burn it. Burn it all.
Who wants to make s'mores?
What happened to all the chairs?
All the tents he just threw in there. I'm king. Can you imagine a wasted king? That'd be terrible.
Me king.
Give me your chair.
Not king, me king.
Mm-hmm. Get in fire.
Your grace. Would like a bumpkin. Anywhoozle. Viserys is hungover. I don't know why I have heard. Oh, she says that Rhaenyra should marry, but it has to be her choice. She has to believe that it's her choice because she knows Rhaenyra better than anyone. And he seems to nod and believe that. This is where we hear about Vaemond Valyrian. We hear that name mentioned, which is Corlys's brother. He's over there. And there's a letter from him basically pleading the crown for help because he's a little bitch in Daemon's estimation, right? And then that's where Alicent kind of gives him the advice that he should help the campaign because he's like, hey, I can't do it because of all these political reasons and blah, blah, blah. I'll seem weak. And Alicent was like, well, and he's like, it's just so goddamn complicated, honey.
I'm going to upset one person and pleasing another.
Yeah, my brain hurts. I don't know what to do. And Alicent was like, I love this line. She's like, well, let me simplify it for you. Is it better for you that the crab feeder succeeds or is it worse? And then he's just like, God damn it. That's real simple. That's real simple.
Well, God damn.
You smart. Honey, you smart.
You must be one of them high towers with all your book reading and learning.
Where's my fingers?
Let's go play with my models.
Pull my finger. Actually, don't. It might actually come off. So apparently the rot, and that's a very important part of this scene too, is progressing because he had a rotten pinky. And the maggots apparently did not help because now he has no pinky, no ring on that same hand. And it still doesn't look great. It seems to be progressing, right? So anyway, just thought that make sure you see those digits.
He's literally getting eaten alive by
It's looking more and more like Steve's feet as time goes on.
I think maybe he nicked his ring as well.
Sir, there are 9
piggies.
Maybe. We have not confirmed how many.
None of us have confirmed.
How many piggies are on my feet? Follow Steve's feet on OnlyFans to find out.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the highest Patreon tiers. In the next scene, we find out that he is sending aid, and he tells Rhaenyra such, and they have a nice sort of heart-to-heart as they are wont to do. And then at the end of that meeting, he basically tells her, you can marry whoever is going to make you happy. Like I did, right? Because he talks about his own betrothal at the age of 10 and 7. She's heard tons of times. It's not cheering her up at all. So she seems kind of bolstered by the fact that she can choose whoever she wants. But then at the end, I thought this was crazy. He says, I have wavered before, but I've decided I will never supplant you. Right. So I promise. So he vows to her on his wife's life. That's right. On her mother's life.
Memory.
Yeah. Mother's memory, that he will never choose another heir than her. And that is just like a concrete declaration of intent that I did not expect us to ever get in this show.
Mm-hmm. That's the most concrete thing he said so far this season, I think.
Yeah.
He's been so wishy-washy on
right
everything.
after he drunkenly professed to Alicent that he wasn't sure she should be queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Unfortunate. I wonder if he'll ever clear that up to Alicent.
But I wonder if the brown stag, like Andy kind of mentioned, was like, oh, you know what? I was right. I am right for feeling this way. Let me just stab that deer.
Right. Yep.
This scene was really, really good. There's a lot of good lines. Like I love the line that Viserys says of, Damon is thorn enough in my flesh. Like I love that. And then when he starts telling Rhaenyra and like really hammering it to her, like you need to marry, for the realm. And she's like, oh, much like how you should have married.
She's like, if you
Valyrian
married
girl.
for duty, you would have married Lena.
Yeah.
He's like, true.
Like, oh shit, you right?
You're right.
I love
You
that
right,
pause he makes. Where he's like, got me there.
Yep.
You got me.
Yeah. And that's where she finally comes out. Like all of this boils down to her still being angry that he chose to marry Alicent more than anything, I think, right? Of all people. And she's right about that. If he was all about the duty, he would have married Lena.
He wouldn't have married
He was
for
all
booty.
about that booty instead. Damn it, Steve. Damn it.
Sorry.
And then we cut back to the battle on the Stepstones.
Too quick with it.
And this is the kind of a council. So you've got Vaemond Valyrian, you've got Corlys Valyrian, and you've got Laenor Valyrian, all kind of arguing over what's going on and how screwed over they are. And then Daemon arrives on his dragon Caraxes and shows up in the middle of that fight. And Vaemon's being a douche, and Corlys sticks up for Daemon and stuff, right? He said, hey, you're not going to start sedition among my ranks, blood or no blood. Right? I'll fuck you up.
Right.
And then in the middle of that, he gets...
Which is fair.
Yeah, super fair. In the middle of that, Daemon gets the letter sent from King Viserys with a messenger. And he does the whole pedigree for some reason, announcing the letter of who it's from. I wanted so badly, and I fully expected Daemon to be like, I know who he is. Like that would have been such a Daemon thing to do, but he let him do the whole thing. Very disappointing.
He looked worn out in that moment.
He was.
Yeah,
he's been tired.
He was the only one fighting. Everybody else was showing planning.
Yeah, I love how they're having that. The Valyrians are having that discussion in the background. You see the dragon setting fire to everything in the background.
And Laenor is like, he's doing something. He defends him against his uncle, which I thought was neat. But maybe they have a bond as dragon riders. And so he reads the message, which we later, right after this moment, find out it just says, hey, I'm going to send you help, brother. I love you forever. I'm not going to let you fail out there because you're my bro. Miss
Bros
you.
before hoes.
Nux. That's what the message says, but that infuriates Daemon, and he beats the shit out of the messenger. You know that old saying, don't kill the messenger? Yeah. Daemon's never heard it.
He almost did.
Well, he didn't kill him.
That's true.
He just beat some ass.
You didn't say don't pummel the messenger with your helm.
Yeah, that's not how that phrase goes.
Nope. Should have been more specific if that was wrong.
That's what's called a loophole, my friends.
Mm-hmm. Master of complaints.
I did like that line. What are you, the master of complaints?
That was his job on the council, Vaemond Valyrian. Yeah. So then Daemon's upset. And so he decides to do the stupid plan that they were talking about before he showed up, right? The whole point of that scene is that Daemon is infuriated at the idea that he would need Viserys' help. Mm-hmm. If he fails, if he requires the help of the crown to complete this mission, then the whole point of doing it is overturned, right?
Well, so they had talked about while he was out flying around, we need to offer the crab feeder some meat. We need to
bring him out of the caves, right?
Who's willing to die? Yeah, exactly. We need to coax him out. And so we don't know for sure yet that that's the plan that Daemon's going with. We see him beat the shit out of the messenger and then just go on his rowboat and start waving the white flag. And so it's like, oh shit, what's he about to do?
Yeah.
And then we find out that it was like they were actually using him as bait. And I thought at first that he was just trying to take him out on his own. Like, I'm going to kill him or die trying.
Yeah.
And didn't realize that they were actually going through with the plan that they had been talking about in the previous scene. So I thought that was really fucking effective.
Yeah.
That was cool.
He holds out Dark Sister and as a suppliant, and they have archers poised on all the cliffs. And, the crab feeder can't resist. Prince Drahar's like, but he's very suspicious still. So he sends out people. Yes. I only have about 3 hours left to live.
My crab pinchers are tingling.
I can't see out of this eye.
You want me to clamp him, boss? That's how he talks.
I know you can't tell, but I'm actually pretty sick.
Yeah.
I know I don't show it, but I'm an ill man.
I'm not quite healthy. King me. Otto, go away. He seems to surrender, and then he goes hammer time by himself. He gives up Dark Sister. He's like,
don't touch my sword.
I have another sword, and give me mine back. And then he takes Dark Sister and kills 17 or 18 people. And there's a bunch of stormtroopers shooting arrows at him.
Oh yeah, those
He
guys
gets hit
can't
by
shoot
3.
shit.
Huh?
He gets hit by 3.
Eventually.
It takes a while before someone finally hits
Even
him.
a stormtrooper's bound to.
I love the way that was shot, like cut into like his feet and he's running real quick. You know what I mean? Like booking it across the beach, and like he gets knocked down at one point, and like
but he gets up again. You're never going to keep him down.
Chumbawamba. It just keeps coming back, man.
I wish there would, because there's a couple times where he locks swords
Where
with
he
some
drinks
of
a
the
whiskey
dudes.
drink.
And then he drinks a lager drink. No, but there's a couple times where he locks swords with some of the dudes on the beach, and he takes his time with them. He dispatches them quickly, but there is time spent, right? Like he holds them up and he slices their throats and whatnot. I really wish he would have used one of them as like a human shield from the arrows.
Hit some arrows.
That whole time there's like arrows like nowhere near them. And I did really like the scene, but like that was the one part I'm like, they need to do something to illustrate why no one can fucking hit him.
Well, he ducked behind a couple like overturned wagons and stuff like that a couple times.
Sure.
At least one body in a quick arrow catch would have been, or even if he cut an arrow in half in midair with his sword,
that would have been.
I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
For sure.
They just needed like one or two more things to visually illustrate
or
why,
steal a shield from a body or something. That would have been easy to block. Hire me. HBO.
Yeah, they're watching.
I love dragons.
But yeah, something would have gone a long way, just a little bit of more of a touch, because there was some moments where like it's been a long time where he's not ducking behind cover and he's just interacting with one dude. Someone should be able to pick him off if there's like 50 archers just launching 50 arrows at him constantly. But that
odds are he'll get hit.
Yeah,
I was gonna say like it's not easy, but yeah, if that many are trying that many times, inevitably,
yeah.
But there's a huge battle after this. It's awesome. He crawls, he gets hit by 3 arrows, crawls underneath the like husks of a ship or something like that for a slight bit of cover. He gets surrounded. He's prepared to fight the entire army by himself to the death. And then Corlys Velaryon and all his retainers and his army shows up. And Laenor Velaryon on Sea Smoke.
Yeah.
Rescues him, shoots a bunch of fire in a circle around. That's really neat. So it's the first time we saw Sea Smoke, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's super cool because I think before the season aired, the showrunners were like, yeah, you're going to see 10 dragons in this show. And Sea Smoke is the third one.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's another one. And he's gray and he's got kind of like a stubby flat tail. I just love how they're making all of them look so different. Mm-hmm. Sea Smoke does look the most like Drogon and like the
his stubby nature
GOT dragons. But he's gray. And it's just cool to see another dragon. And how cool was Corlys Velaryon with his like helmet on, but his like sweet hair is like flying around while he's swinging his sword.
He's a battle axe user, I think, right?
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was badass. That was a really cool axe.
Really cool fight. Really cool scene. Ultimately, Daemon goes in the cave and fucking cuts the crab feeder in half.
Yes.
And just comes out with like an arm and a head and some entrails.
Yeah.
Dragon.
Yeah, that moment when he comes out with him, I audibly was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's a noise Steve made.
Yeah, that was awesome, and it kind of mirrored Rhaenyra returning from the hunt covered in blood after killing the boar.
Oh, very true.
Totally covered in blood after killing the crab feeder.
Because it's an example of them proving themselves, right? Because the whole reason Daemon kind of beats the shit out of the messenger is because he doesn't want his brother's help. He wants to do this on his own and prove himself.
Well, it's like Viserys said, he'd rather die. Yeah. Is what he says when Rhaenyra's like, did Daemon ask for help? And that's 100% facts. He would literally rather die.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's how prideful he is.
Interesting. They both get all bloody and spurning the Viserys's wishes, which is weird.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Are you saying that in this episode we saw fire and blood?
What?
Mm-hmm. What? My goodness.
That brings us to our next segment, the Dragon Egg segment. I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about here, potentially. Did you guys gather some things?
Of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Lay it on me, Steve.
Well, this one is a little bit part of I thought of this during the recap of last episode, and that was like when Corlys Velaryon is talking to Daemon, like, we are the realm's second sons. I was like, isn't that the company? Second Sons Company that's featured in GOT.
It is.
I wrote the grayscale about the crab feeder having grayscale. Did you guys have any before I like rattle through all these?
Andy?
Rhaenyra, well, as we know, the showrunners listen to our show, and they definitely heard our How to Train Your House of the Dragon episode. And Rhaenyra calls herself toothless.
I wrote that down too.
And that seemed intentional.
We're all dorks for writing that down.
You wrote that too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you write that?
Yeah. I love How to Train Your Dragon.
That was so good. That was my only one.
I wrote down some wild swings. I just the boar hunt that they're on just is reminiscent of the death of King Robert Baratheon. Mm-hmm. People go boar hunting all the time. That's probably not at all what they meant to do, but it just seemed to add an extra kind of a different level of portent to this meeting, right? Because Robert Baratheon loved boar hunting. And then we actually get to see a boar attack later on. That's what killed Robert. That's how he went down, the way Kristen Cole went down. Mm-hmm. And then we also hear the name Sir Harwin Breakbones, which I think is the name referenced during the conversation between King Viserys and
Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie, indeed.
Because that's his son, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Sir Harwin Strong is Breakbones is his name. He does become an important character. And so I just thought that was neat because that they kind of dropped that name there. So I think that's all I have.
I also wrote down at one point when Kristen Cole and Rhaenyra are walking and he kind of tells her like, I owe everything I have to you. I'm indebted to you. Because of you, my name will be written in the White Book. The White Book is the book that all the deeds of the Kingsguard are written into. You'll remember that it was really important for Jaime Lannister in GOT to be written in there because, he's a Kingslayer. He will never be written in there. But at the end of the series, Brienne Tarth writes his name and all his accomplishments in there.
Well, he was in there. He just had like a sentence.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He killed his king, basically. Yeah. Also, we talked about Viserys wanted to be a dreamer, like Dany's the dreamer. And kind of going back to the boar hunt. So Viserys kills the stag with a Lannister spear, which is interesting because a lot of people are there's a lot of Lannisters kind of killing the Baratheons, which their house sigil is the stag.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Neat visual. And yeah, that's basically all I have.
Yeah. Good dragon egg. Good dragon eggs.
Lannister spear and the stag.
And that takes us to our Valyrian Steels segment where we talk about our 3 favorite moments of the episode. Steve, what's your number 3 Valyrian Steel?
My number 3 Valyrian Steel is when Jason Lannister goes to Viserys and kind of makes his intentions known that he would like to take Rhaenyra's hand in marriage. I like that. I love that whole scene from beginning to when Otto kind of walks up and talks to him. It's a really, really great showcase for Paddy Considine's acting. I love how he sticks up for Rhaenyra and the way he's kind of like, oh, is my house weak? Huh? And then he tells Otto Hightower, that man's pride has pride, which we all know is like a defining trait of Lannisters is they're very prideful.
Sure.
And to be honest, in original GOT, the Lannister house was like my favorite house because they were the most interesting to me. Like Jaime Lannister was my favorite character. Tyrion was one of my favorite characters. And I love to hate Cersei. Tywin was a very fascinating character. So I was always like...
Charles Dance did such a good job.
Yeah, he did. I always loved the Lannister storytelling wise. So seeing that family kind of come back in this episode.
It rattled your dags?
It rattled my dags so hard, my dude. So yeah, it's my number 3.
Andy, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Rhaenyra's conversation with Viserys after the hangover's done and she returns with her boar and they basically have the conversation where she confronts him and says, "You're trying to replace me," and he swears that he's not going to and tells her that you do need to marry, but you can choose and yada yada. It just felt like it was cathartic to see these characters finally speak their minds to each other, and I felt like the performances that happened there were pretty phenomenal.
Awesome. My number 3 is Caraxes, the opening of the episode where he flies in and attempts to rescue the fight that's gone wrong. Specifically the part where the guy, he's being lazy crucified and he's just so goddamn excited. Prince Daemon, haha, you're all fucked now.
Here, my prince.
Crab boys. And then it gets squished, which isn't part of the part that I loved, but it's funny.
You love a good squishing.
I do love a good squishing, but yeah, I honestly felt the guy's excitement. I was really excited. I'm like, dragon.
mean, we would all have that same reaction.
Yeah.
Spoiler. That's my number 2. That scene
Okay.
at the opening, and yeah, like we all love dragons. So anytime they show up, it's probably highly likely that that's going to show up in our Valyrian Steels.
It's like a whole house of them too.
Exactly. And Caraxes is my big red noodly boy, and I love him.
He's a good time boy.
He's my sweet cheese. And so anytime my rotten soldier shows up on the battlefield and flames a motherfucker, I'm here for it. And we got to see him step on a motherfucker, even though that dude was technically on
Wrong
their
side.
But you know,
He didn't know that. Caraxes didn't know that.
That guy shouldn't have let himself
He's
get
a
caught.
good boy. He's the goodest boy. He didn't know.
He protect his master.
He's just protecting.
He's protecting, he attacking. So that's my number 2, Andy. Your number 2?
My number 2 is Rhaenyra's not walk of shame, but walk of pride after she survived the boar attack. Just after everything that happened throughout the episode, all the conniving and stuff, and where's Rhaenyra? Where's Rhaenyra? And for her to get to walk like a badass, covered in blood, and all the reaction shots that they cut to of just like, dang, who the fuck is this girl and what's she doing? And like she almost has this little smirk as she's walking past everyone and walks right past like the head table where
she's not slinking.
Yeah, it was awesome. So it was a wonderful character moment.
My number 2 is Damon's charge at the end of the episode. I loved it. It's not perfectly blocked, but I actually Googled like a Dark Sister replica. I wanted to buy one, and I'm not financially stable at all right now. Like very much the opposite, actually.
$200 and a sword.
I just got like a 12 grand medical bill, and I was going to pay whatever. It doesn't exist yet. There's one on Etsy that's like the version of Dark Sister that's in like the books, the illustrations from the extra material from the books and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want that one. I want one Damon has. People won't recognize it.
I want Matt Smith's sword.
Yeah, I want that sword. But anyway, yeah, I just, I'm a sucker for the climax of the episode, right? So that had to be my number 2. Steve?
Same. That's my number 1.
Woo!
I criticize the blocking, like you said, but I think the visualization of him holding up the sword is really, really powerful. Like that scene where he was waving the white sword or the white flag. And I literally
that he fashioned on the spot.
Yeah. I perked up because I thought it was very captivating and I was really curious, like, where is this going? I don't know what's going on. I'm fascinating. And then like you get to see the crab feeder doing his like really subtle, like, hey, go check him out. Like his little head tilts like, oh, look at him. I don't talk, but everyone knows what I'm saying.
Right.
He just those little head nods. He's a very visually neat looking character. R.I.P. Sad to see him go. Gone too soon. I will remember you.
Prince Drahar.
Prince Drahar. And then seeing Matt Smith like just light up the first couple dudes where he like whips out the sword and he starts cutting guys down. Sadly, the arrow thing I'm not here for, but then it's saved by Corlys of Valerian with his badass hair. Yeah, the sea smoke swings in. Loved it.
It just hit me what was awkward. That the arrow thing was very like Indiana Jones it's atonal.
Kinda, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would expect something like that, like spears falling. It actually literally happens in Indiana Jones at the end of Temple of Doom when he's climbing the thing and all the arrows are just hitting the walls around him.
But it was like 50 of them that hit right next to him at the same time. They fucking catapulted all their arrows.
Reload. Andy, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is that also the Daemon Siege. I don't have as much of a problem with the arrows as you guys do. I felt like if he hadn't gotten hit, it would have ruined the scene for me that he didn't do more to hide from them, but he got hit by 3 of them. And so like, I'm okay with, having him do the couple bits of hiding behind stuff, but I don't need to defend that sequence because it's so fucking badass. Like,
Andy, it's my number 1.
Framed beautifully. The action is fantastic. What was happening in it wasn't what I thought was happening. As far as like him going through with the plan that the other people had just been discussing. So that was a fun surprise for me. As you said, the crab feeder is a very cool, physically designed person. And like one of the most interesting villain-esque looking people that we've ever seen in this world. And so that was a lot of fun. Most of them are just like handsome and mean. And this one actually looked the evil that he was. And so that was really cool. But yeah, just getting to see Prince Daemon like be the badass that we know that he is supposed to be was incredible. But yeah, number 1 with a bullet.
With a bullet. It was an arrow with an arrow, a bunch of them. My number 1 is the bloody walk. Rhaenyra returning from her night about with Kristen Cole and a boar. made a funny joke about it, but that's why I was like, trust me when I tell you, I thought it was cool because it's my number one. My favorite scene in all of Game of Thrones, all 8 seasons, a show that is my favorite show of all time, is season 3, episode 4. As Andy knows well, when Daenerys
Go spaghettis.
She tricks the slave masters into thinking she's giving them Drogon, and then speaks Valyrian. They don't know she speaks Valyrian. I fucking love that, right? So I like these subversions of empowerment, and Daenerys will always be my queen, but Rhaenyra is skyrocketing up to that list, right? And as far as like my care for her, and I love this moment for her where she's just like, as Andy said, she walks boldly down the middle of the causeway. Look at me, bitches. This will be your blood if you give me one bit of lip, like that's the vibe. And nobody does. Nobody challenges it. Not even King Viserys. He's like, oh, he doesn't want to quite meet her eyes, right? It's a foreboding. It's cool. It's fucking cool. It was dramatic. I liked it a lot. And so that's my number one. And I'll probably rewatch this whole episode as soon as I wake up in the morning. I get up at 5 with the baby and I'll probably turn it on. I usually watch each one twice. So just to make sure, because there's some, like I said, some really high highs in this episode. But now, before we go, let's talk about our Mummer's Dragon, our favorite performance of the episode. Steve, you want to kick us off with your dragon?
Yeah, sure. So this whole episode, I was
favorite mummer?
I was looking for my favorite mummer, and the whole time I'm like, well, I think this episode is Paddy Considine, like the whole time, because he's doing a lot. He's acting all sorts of different emotions. He's doing a drunk acting pretty well.
Yeah, that's not easy.
He's really crushing
bullshit.
it. You're bullshit. But all that being said, I'm actually going to give it to Matt Smith, who appears in the very end of the episode, specifically for just one very small moment. And that is, he shows up, he comes back on his dragon, he goes to the table, he's physically tired, he's leaning against the table. And when the messenger gives him the note and he reads that note, just the look on Matt Smith's face when he kind of just like looks back at the messenger, and you kind of see he's like, this motherfucker, like you can see he's just like mad and upset and just kind of like, you fucking kidding me right now? My brother's coming to say, like, yeah, it's such a small, subtle performance. He doesn't say anything. It's all in his face.
And the way that he hands him back the note.
Yeah.
He has this little flourish with his hand when he gives it back.
Yeah.
That was really like, get this away from me, but in like this gentle way. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm. And I've already given the award for me to Paddy Considine in the first episodes. And I don't know, I was just really, really impressed by that one little moment by Matt Smith that conveyed so much, and it had so much weight to just a look. And I always appreciate a really strong, subtle performance by an actor. So yeah,
absolutely. Andy, what was your Mummer's Dragon?
Also Matt Smith, for pretty much the same reason. The performance, first off, with when he gets the note, the way that it's shot, I think is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Sure, yeah.
These really smash close on like a piece of his face and stuff.
Yeah, it's a really
and, like,
tight close up.
See his eye kind of like flick up and stuff. It was pretty wonderfully done. But his mannerisms when he receives the note and when he gives it back, and no words are spoken throughout all of this, and he's just like gently sets down his helmet at first and then picks back up and beats the fuck out of dude with it. And then also just like the physicality of the action sequences that he was in at the beginning and into the episode, the 2 halves of the pork sandwich. I thought that he crushed it, and he looked every bit the badass that Damon's supposed to be. And yeah, it was wonderful.
Agreed.
Who's your mama's dragon?
I think yours is the right answer, but I'm giving it to Millie Alcock. I think that I've been consistently surprised and delighted at the performance of both her and Emily Carey. I think they're better than I could have ever hoped or needed them to be, because there's not much given to us in the books, again, right, about any of these characters. And so I didn't expect any of this, any of these layers of like tragic sympathy around Alicent. But Millie Alcock in this episode specifically, I think, is the beginnings of a great arc, like you pointed out with the cake thing in this episode. That's a growth from her character's view on cake from before. But just that bloody walk, man, and the stabbing of the boar, even with the digital blood, like all that stuff. That's what I want. And because people always say like Daenerys had these hints of madness throughout Game of Thrones, and like in defense of her turn as the Mad Queen or whatever. And I always liked those moments. I didn't say whatever that means about me. Like at no point was I like,
oh, those moments were always cool.
Like, oh man, that means she burned him. Oh my God. I was every time like, yes, you know? And so I like a little crazy, you know? So I think that, and she has every right to be angry. So I give it to Millie Alcock.
Hell yeah. That's a good option. Good choice.
I think that's it, right? That's all the time we have for right now.
I think it is. I think you're right.
That's all the time we have right now. My name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Streaming Things. Happy streaming. The new patron shout out. Thank you for your patronage.
You have a beautiful voice.
I don't think I do.
Aw.
It's pretty good.
Don't be so hard on yourself, buddy.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 would smash. Well, we're doing patron shout outs differently this time, guys. We're going to do them once a month, and this recording will last the entire month. But in this month, we will go over the new patrons that sign up for the month and also the patrons who upgraded their tiers that month as well. Are you excited to find out the cool people that did such a thing?
Down?
I'm very excited.
All right. So let me introduce to you our brand new patrons for the Try Before You Deny tier. It's Aaron Layton and Crystal Trujillo.
Woo!
Hi, friends.
In the Marty P VIP tier, it's Josh and Anna.
Marty B.
What did I say?
Marty P.
Oh, Marty B, excuse me. How fucking dare you? I've been here for how long and you don't know my name?
The entire time, sir.
You've given me a terrible wound.
What if Marty B's like a Marty P, man?
Well, our new chocolate pudding producers, we have Alex Fisher, Brittany Deck, Enver Psycho. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm surely not.
Probably not, man.
Jen L, Jess R, Mandy Spears, Shannon Myers, and Zach Suthers. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, friend.
Thanks for chachos.
And our final new patron in the Friends Don't Lie tier, we have Colin P. Frost. Thank you, Colleen.
Another P, man.
Thank you so much. Now we go into the upgrades.
That's the road less traveled, man.
These are the people that gave us money before and we thought, hey, what about more money for these guys? Because they're just so giving and full of mirth, all of it. These people upgraded to the Try Before You Deny tier.
Try before you deny, man.
Andrew Gray, Jen Robinson, Casey McCain, John Collins, Kalisha Reeves, Kate, Kiki, and Will Nash. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And then these people upgraded to the Marty B VIP section. Thank you, A. Wells, Adam Horn, Adam Raymond, Arcade Shenanigans, Barb, Caleb Jeter, Carmelita Valdez McCoy. I love saying your name fully, Carmelita, because it's so cool. Chloe Richardson, Cindy Miller Ray, Elizabeth Hubbard, Enza, Jimmy Gadd, John Madden, like the John Madden. Isn't he dead?
Yes.
Well,
we thought,
dead, but he's on the cover of Madden 23.
And now he's here to write X's and circles over footage of football players. Thank you, Jadinglage. Thank you, Jadinglage Morgus. Thank you, Katie Blair, Kayla Higgins. It's me, the French Oak. Thank you, Lisa L, Marcus Mills, Michelle Moore, Nick Nolte, Nicole Cassis, Paula Garcia, Sean Callahan, Stephanie Pagalis, Suzanne Rode, and Sydney Day. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
And good night.